Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. So, in honor of National Social Worker Month in March, we are going to highlight some veteran staff here at Adoptions from the Heart. So, I would like to welcome Stephanie Capriati, who is a supervisor here. She's been with the agency almost 25 years. Then we have Nicole Fowler, who is our district supervisor out of Virginia, and she is the director of social services. Been with us for almost 17 years. So welcome, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
So let's start from the beginning. I think it's kind of cool for folks to hear about our staff, a little bit about your journey in working for Adoptions from the Heart, why you've remained here, maybe a little bit of the highs and lows of your career, and just where you see the future headed for Adoptions from the Heart. So maybe we can start with Nicole. Do you want to first share why you came to this agency, what your expectation was in working here?
Sure thing. I was a junior in college and had to do an interview with a human services agency. So I lucked upon Adoptions from the Heart, met with Alice Alvord, who has since retired. She opened my eyes. I came in with such ultimate respect for adoptive parents and adoptive families. And she really showed me the courage and strength of birth parents as well, or anybody considering adoption. And I left with such an honor and respect for open adoption and anybody who's a part of it. And I lucked upon an internship. Then I started as an office manager part-time way back in the day. And then it's just grown from there. I have just such a deep appreciation for how much Adoptions from the Heart has grown through the years. It was, preparing for open adoption ed course only back then. And we have since honored and respected the need for transracial adoption education, intersectionality education, non-newborn, and constantly throughout the years offering education series and things like that. And that's where I've seen Adoptions from the Heart grow, and I only imagine it to grow from the future too.
Wonderful. Thank you. How about for you, Stephanie?
So it goes back to when I was 17 and my cousin was adopted through Adoptions from the Heart. So I first heard the agency's name then. I went off to college and I was a junior as well. Sharon Arnold, who was on the board at the time of Adoptions from the Heart, was my professor at college. Maxine actually came to the college and did a speaking panel. So I was a part of that actually. And then when I was a senior, just looking for a job, Sharon called me and said, I'm going to give your name to this woman. Her name is Marilyn. She's going to be calling you for an interview. Marilyn called me, we met, and I always say the rest was history. So I was offered the job actually 2 weeks before I graduated. And I say I found home at that point. I just have appreciated what the agency did for my family, being that we have my cousin with us now. Just everything that they've done, all the ways that I've seen it grow, and the way that Maxine and Heidi have really allowed the agency to grow and allowed when they see things that needed change, they were willing and open to doing that. And so they always have kept their hearts and minds open. We have to sort of move with the times sometimes, and they were always open to that. Their mission has stayed true from day one, but also allowed for there to be growth within that mission and what that means. So I've been here a minute.
You've been here a minute. That's for sure. Well, and just to give you a brief overview of me, I joined the group a little later on than these ladies. I came to the agency in 2012 with absolutely no experience or real understanding of adoption. My background has always been in women and gender studies. I spent a little bit of time in Kenya, and that's where I fell in love with the idea of trying to help empower people, but more specifically women, with the tools they need to figure out what's right for them and their families. And I had moved to Delaware from New York, was looking for a job, fell upon Adoptions from the Heart, and as soon as I walked in the door and met Danielle Goodman, similar to Marilyn and to, I forget her name, Allison, Nicole?
Alice. Yep.
Alice, excuse me. I immediately felt the warmth of this agency, and it was very genuine. And it took me a very long time to train and understand the role of a social worker here at Adoptions from the Heart. I say it took me a good 4 or 5 years. People think that it only takes like 6 months to train, but I'm a firm believer that it takes years of experience and mentoring to truly know what to do in this position. And I'm grateful for it because I never left. I honestly was not expecting to stay here. I thought it was going to be a stepping stone for something else. And I just can't seem to leave. Like the ladies you see on this call, I think you become embraced in this world of helping people in a variety of ways, not just helping to build families, but helping folks who are facing a very vulnerable moment in their life and trying to figure out what they want to do for their family as a whole. I'm a firm believer in you are who you are because of the team that you work with. And I think Adoptions from the Heart is a small group which serves a bigger purpose. So that kind of takes me into my next question or thought that I'm hoping we can discuss. We are who we are because of the people we work with and the people we worked for. And it sounds like the three of us have had really positive mentors in our life. Can we touch on that of like what that has meant for us? We all supervise currently, and I know that we all trained and learned from somebody before us. And people don't realize, but like we are built off of the blood, sweat, and tears of those folks who taught us to be who we are. We aren't just who we are because of our own personalities, but the people who we worked for and worked with. Thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, Marilyn Rich was a force of nature. I have never met anyone who cared so much about the team, but also the work that she did. Immediately from day one, it was just inspiration because you could feel her heart outside of her body for real. She wanted everyone to be seen as family, and she treated everyone as family. And so I learned compassion, empathy, from day one. And that was her driving force. She drilled into me, like for clients, all of them. Do you see me? Do you hear me? Do I matter? And I still say that. I find myself still saying that today. There were lots of laughs. I used to laugh because Marilyn always had a box full of stuff. And I met with Emily today and I had a box full of stuff. And I was like, full circle moment for me. Marilyn, I have a box now, but she built the foundation and she put the time into me, which some organizations don't always do that. But I think what we all learned is that there were people here before us who wanted us to grow, and they wanted us to learn, and they wanted us to be us in our roles and not them in their roles. And so I preach that now, like, I don't want you to be me. I want you to be you in this role. And so they were openly and willingly put the time into really teaching us and letting us fail, but then helping pick us back up too. So I think that foundation is huge. And I think it's part of why we're still so successful today.
I couldn't agree more. I think that was well put. The role models that we've had before us, it helps me be a role model as well. And nobody understands a social worker like a social worker or a counselor like a counselor. But also we have such a great team here that incorporates different facets of this. We have admin, we have financial, we have marketing, we have supervisors, we have all of this team that really support each other. And to see that all come together in the same goal and mission that you were talking about, like, it's so special. And it's something that I try and remember anytime a new intern comes back in. I was there 17 years ago, and to remember what that's like and remember who served as my role models with that compassion that they had.
And sometimes it's easier said than done. I think all three of us started off in a different role and have since grown, but that transition was difficult, at least for me. Turning from a line social worker to a supervisor is still challenging for me, and I've been doing it now over 3 years. And some days I wonder, am I good at this? Because I'd rather just go out in the field and do it. And I know my obligation and my responsibility to teaching and helping social workers grow, similar to how my supervisor taught me. It's an important responsibility that I really try to honor and respect, but it's hard. It can be really hard because you're juggling the quality of work that is put out there and the services provided to the client with trying to teach as opposed to doing. Right? So there's a lot that we juggle as supervisors, and it can be hard. It can be hard because I want to do for others what was done for me. And some days I just don't feel like I'm doing that.
Oh, you're doing it. And what I appreciate about our team is that they give me grace, and they probably do for all of you when I have my bad days, because we have bad days. So I think it's important when they see us be human. It allows them to remember that they can be human in this job too. So yes, I totally hear what you're saying about there are days where, the transition is really hard because I just want to go out and I just want to be amongst the clients. But then I remember that foundation that I got and I'm like, okay, I can do hard things. Marilyn taught me that I can do hard things. And so I just take that contemplative moment and a deep breath. I tell everybody I can count to 10. If it needs to go to 20, that's okay too. But I don't think any of us are doing a bad job by any stretch of the imagination. I think we're actually doing a really good job. And I think the people before us would be really proud of us.
What are some highs and lows of typical days for you guys? How do you manage the stress? How do you embrace the good, but also face the bad? That is just a part of our job.
I think I've learned a lot through the years, and I've been on stringent boundaries, and then I had no boundaries in the beginning. And I think it's really important to, in a culture of immediacy with our phone, just like Steph said, take a 10-second pause on things and see what is important now, which, as Amanda said, is empowering parents and being there for somebody in what might be the most hard point of their life, their most difficult decision of their life. That's the emergency, and then working out an on-call schedule can be stressful amongst different workers. That's hard. It's difficult through the years, putting a pause on some things that might that this can be done tomorrow or next week, and you want to do everything for all of your clients and all of your coworkers right now. But learning, I've been on the spectrum of, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore, but like that balance of things are very important, but what's important right now in this moment? That's been, I guess, the stress throughout the years is finding that balance.
Yeah, I second that completely, Nicole, is just finding the balance. And that balance takes years. It takes for a very long time because also people shift, right? So families that I worked with and how they sort of communicated to us when I first started is very different. They have very different expectations of us now than when they did when I first started. So just when I thought I had that balance figured out, a shift came in the way people communicate and how we relate to each other. And so I had to figure out that balance all over again. I definitely think that is a definite high and low. And I think just having to manage lots of different personalities and just making sure that everybody feels seen and heard and that they matter. It can be a lot some days, and that it goes for like staff and clients and everybody. And, some days you're really drained by it at the end of the day, but then other days you're like energized by it because you are like, okay, I see the success there. I see, okay, we managed that one really well. So it's understanding the lows, but then not dwelling on them too.
Yeah. And I think relying on your colleagues, right? We keep going back to the importance of teamwork, not just within the social worker role, but as Nicole mentioned, relying on our upper management, executive director, finance, sitting down with our finance director and having a conversation, our marketing team who, also we have employees that have been here for over 20 years, and relying on them for their wisdom and their tools to getting through the tougher times. It's pretty cool that if you really sit back and look at the longevity of staff here, people stay. And I think that's kind of cool because you don't really see that very often in businesses or agencies or organizations. It's nice to know that there's folks here who have grown up here. You both mentioned coming here right out of school, right? Like you truly have grown up at the agency. And I think the agency has grown as a result of folks like you who have been involved. I think it's important for folks to know social work is definitely hard. I think this field of adoption is hard. There's good times and bad times, but making sure you have the foundation to get through it, whether you're a client or a staff member here is really important. I wish I could shut my brain off. It just doesn't happen with this. Somebody recently asked, I think I was asked a question or something for some interview about what do you do for self-care? How do you take a step back? How do you create the boundaries? And the reality is, this is not a 9-to-5 job. It's just not. I mean, that may be great on paper, but when you're dealing with lives and people who are being affected by big decisions and babies that come when they want to come and people in the middle of the night that just need support, it's very hard to turn that off. And I think that if you are not in this field for the reasons that you need to be, this will never work, right? If you're just here to get a paycheck, that is not what this is about. And we want to make sure that the people who are here are dedicated and want to provide the support to our clients and our community.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's important to note that the challenges that we face as social workers are very specific. And so I know that I can literally pick up the phone and contact anybody on this call or in the agency. And I can say, I just need a minute. I just need to vent. I need to cry. I need to process. I need to pick your brain, all of those things. And like one of us is going to answer and be like, yeah, I got you. And so because it is so specific for us processing, it's so important that we have those relationships, because we can't really we can go home and talk to our families, but at the end of the day, and I love my family to pieces, they don't necessarily get it. And so to be able to talk to someone who gets it is super helpful to us. That keeps us going too. So Marilyn used to say we have a sisterhood, but we have some gentlemen who have joined us. So we have a sisterhood and a brotherhood, I think, with our agency as well. But that support that we have of each other is also very important for our longevity here.
Can you guys share a moment or maybe just a general reminder for you of when you feel like you're doing your job? What are those tickers of like, okay, this is working, I want to stay here, I feel like this is why I'm meant to be here? Like, what moment can you share that truly made you feel fulfilled in your role at Adoptions from the Heart?
Me personally, it's never been a second guess on that. We all reach the end of our emotional ropes sometimes. Adoptions from the Heart is such a special agency. You don't see the progression and the respect for all members of the adoption triad, in my opinion, in any other agency. So as long as I'm working in adoption, I hope to be here. I think growing my family did give me insight into how special it is to become a parent too. That grew my empathy with clients. That grew my dedication to being a part of this process. So that was a pivotal moment for me. I just echo everything you say. I appreciate everyone here that works here because they hear me vent and just like you said, nobody else is going to get it the same way. And having the support of friends and family in my personal life is just so separate from this, but there's no personal versus professional in this field because everything is permeated. But to have that, the coworkers that I have is the only thing that's really kept me here too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the obvious things, obviously, when we see families all come together, birth families and adoptive families and the agency picnic and seeing all those things. I think those are all just very obvious, like things that fill us up. But I think it's in the little moments too that I don't even think others may notice. Like for me, if I have a staff who maybe they've called me a couple times to ask me, how do I navigate this? And then they call me and they're like, I have this situation. These are my thoughts. Is this the right way to go? And I'm like, yeah, you got that. And so that small one conversation that was maybe 5 minutes is like reassuring to me that like, okay, you're doing a good job. They didn't ask you this time. They just called to make sure like that's the right plan to go down. So it's in those little tiny moments that others maybe don't see, and they're not huge and they're not big, but they're loud to me because it reminds me, okay, they got this, they're doing it. And then they execute it, and then you're so proud of them. You're like a mama bear in that moment because you're like, yep, that went just the way it was supposed to go. I think it's the big things, but then also the little things that we all encounter.
Yeah, I would completely agree. I think as a supervisor, you almost feel like you're like a parent at times, right? And I have some amazing staff that I supervise, and I'm grateful for each and every one of them because I don't think I could do what I do without their work ethic and their heart. So when I get a call from a staff member who I know went through a challenging moment and it was really hard to do whatever they were doing, and they call me in excitement of like, I got through it. This is where we're at. I almost feel like a proud parent, like, okay, they got it. They got it. They feel what it feels like to be in that space. And a win doesn't necessarily mean an adoption placement. A win means the client you were servicing feels proud of whatever decision they made, right? And so when I hear them feel that way and they feel proud of the work that they did, that's a win for me. Right. And then I think just personally in my career, I always go back to my heart of why I remain here is when a birth parent in the quiet moments, years later, when people don't necessarily hear or see the text message that comes through at 9:00 at night on a Saturday, say, you helped change my life. And I am grateful for you and what you have provided me and my family. And for me, people not seeing that actually is more gratifying to me because a lot of what we do highlights the joy of adoption and building families. But there are really tough moments that people go through. And being able to be a part of that and being welcomed into that moment is important to me. And that's my moment of like, okay, check. This is worth it. This is why I'm here. I feel as though this is not even just making a difference, but like it matters, if that makes sense. Because it is hard. There's a lot that you balance when you're in upper management, a lot of pressures of trying to make everybody happy. So I think those small moments, as Stephanie mentioned, can sometimes be more empowering than the big moments. Where do you guys see the future for our agency? What are your hopes in terms of next step, where we want to see ourselves in the adoption community as a whole?
Yeah, I think just providing the services that we're providing and still growing and still seeing the full picture and making sure we're meeting the needs of what that full picture looks like, but still maintaining the mission that I first fell in love with all those years ago, but seeing that, maybe there's other things that we can be doing or other ways that we can be helping and incorporating ourselves into the community even more than we already have. And just kind of, sometimes strong and steady is the course. And it doesn't always have to be anything drastic, but just maintaining the reputation and who we are. And continuing to be here as a place for options and adoption if that's what individuals are choosing.
Definitely. I agree with all of that. And the education that has been provided has just grown so much through the years. And I think we're going to get more and more of those, Amanda, those text messages from clients, just in a moment after all of the static is over, 1 year later, 15 years later, of like, I get it. And, I'm looking forward to many more of those moments based on what the agency has become and how it's grown.
Yeah, I mean, similar to what you guys are describing, life is really hard right now for a lot of people. I think we are in a very challenging moment of society for a variety of reasons. I hope 5 years from now, things are different and better and we're in a healthier place as a country. And even though we are in the field of adoption and people stereotypically, we deal with babies all the time and life is sunshine and rainbows, like it's not. And I think that if you really dig deep into what we're doing here, at the core, you're working with folks who are facing a very unplanned, very scary situation and trying to figure out what to do, right? And then you have on the other side folks who have been navigating a very tough journey, maybe, infertility or whatnot, and trying to figure out how to build their family. There's a lot of layers to that, right? And I think that if we can continue to be a support for the bigger picture of trying to help move our culture and our society to a better space where we are more connected, there are more resources, people know who they can call. I think within the last year or two, we've seen such an increase with exposure and different organizations and entities connecting to try to figure out solutions for the people we serve together, right? Hospitals, OBGYNs, shelters, social services, connecting with us to try to help not just the moment of what people are going through, but long term, right? So my hope is that we're not just seen as an adoption agency that helps build families, but we're seen as a space that people can come to when they are in a moment of need to try to access resources, right? So like we pride ourselves on being a place that provides options counseling to folks who are facing an unplanned pregnancy. We believe in that, right? Not all of us even have our background in adoption. So when we're counseling with a birth mother who just found out that she's pregnant, we truly do support all of her options and what she may choose to pick as her outcome for that situation. And I want to see more of that. And I want people to recognize that and respect that, right? Because people just look at us sometimes as there's the adoption person, right? They're walking in to try to pressure that person into adoption. And I can guarantee that every staff member that works in this agency does not see it that way. So that's kind of where I'm hoping that we continue. Building families is beautiful, but we want to make sure that that's actually what our birth parents want. And on the other side of things, I think you're seeing adoptive parents realizing that more. So even in quote unquote failed situations of a disappointment or a disruption, they see the bigger picture and the meaning behind our agency supporting that person and figuring out what they want. So yes, it's not a win for them because they can't become a parent in that moment, but it's a win for the bigger picture of what's going on in our country right now, right? And people being faced with very scary situations and not having access to the resources they need to figure out what they want. I think we are ready, we're prepared, right? We are a team. I think we've got our core people. We're on the ship. We're ready to go. Any final thoughts? Anything else that you guys want our community to know about your experience at Adoptions from the Heart?
Just that it comes from the heart. I mean, truly, we're here and we've stayed as long as we have because we really enjoy this work and we care. And I think that's important. And I think it comes through when you probably talk to any one of us individually. You probably can hear that or feel that we care, or we wouldn't have been here as long as we have been. But we like it here. and we care about every single one of our clients, and we care about each other.
I couldn't agree more. And I truly appreciate this transparent and vulnerable conversation, because these are things that are, not said and expressed all the time. I just want to say that thank you so much for hosting this. It was wonderful to be able to reflect and also look forward.
Well, and I think when our executive director decided to do this platform of Adoptions from the Heart TV, the focus has always remained the same. We want to hear voices of people who live this, right? All members of the triad be able to voice their perspective, their journey, their experience of working with Adoptions from the Heart. And we've always stayed true to that. And I think that when we have vulnerable conversations like this, it's because we've been given the space to do so. And I think our executive director, Heidi, continues to emphasize us providing suggestions and revisions to what we're doing to make sure we're fitting the needs of the clients we serve, which is what Stephanie had shared earlier. So I'm grateful for this platform. It really is remarkable. I've had the honor for the last, 7, 8 years. I don't even know how many years we've been doing this, to build what we have and to be able to hear clients say firsthand what this has meant for them has been an honor. And I at my core will always be the type of person that says, give that person a voice and they will show you who they are. Right. And I think that's what this is all about. And I'm just grateful that we could all hop on this call and take a moment from our busy lives, because I'm sure we're all about to leave and do 12,000 things before the end of the day. But people get to see the reality of it. This is not scripted. The three of us didn't even know what we were going to say today, and we just kind of jumped into a really great 40-minute conversation. And I'd love to see more of it, because this is what we're about. And we are proud and honored to work for this agency. I'll speak on behalf of all of us that it's a privilege to be here. We don't take that for granted, and the roles that we play, it's a moment. It's a moment that we don't take lightly. So Thank you both, Stephanie and Nicole, for all of your hard work. I look forward to the future success here at Adoptions from the Heart. Hey guys, if you are enjoying the content here at AFTH TV, please subscribe and hit the bell.